Hello, everyone, and welcome to Portal 64. I'm your host, David, and today we are going to be discussing quite a few things. And hey, Hunts SD. So, Sunny just barely messaged me saying that she can't make it today, which is a-okay. I can run this show by myself, said no one ever. Just kidding, I can. Just watch me. Okay. Hey, you missed me saying Sunny can't make it here. You have not missed anything. Hey, Verif. Okay, so there's something I want to show you guys, and let's see if I could just bring my Google Chrome up to the top. Where is it? Okay, apparently Google Chrome does not want to show itself, but for the... hold on, go to properties. Yeah, why is that not showing? Where is the window? Reset transform. Okay, apparently this window does not want to show itself on the thing. Hold on, let me set up a new... No. Window capture, window. Okay, so I want to show you guys from the... there we go. Existing. It's not showing up. Okay, fine. Hey, Ryan, how are you? You're going to be watching a very half-done version of my Friday shows that I always mention to you and Gainer. Okay, so, man, I wish I could just pull up the window, but OBS is fighting me on this. And it's probably because I have YouTube showing? Google Chrome. Yeah. Okay, it should just show up. Okay, so... yeah, it's still not showing up. Alright, so, okay, so there was the RWBY Q&A on Reddit that Miles and Kerry had. And a few people, so someone, a very lovely person, the RWBY Analysis Tumblr blog, they have posted all the stuff. Okay, my cousin is just saying, I can't hang out next week. I'm just going to get rid of my phone. Classic, throw the phone to the side. So... if you guys didn't know, last Monday there was a RWBY Q&A, and a lot of questions got answered on a number of things, which I wished Sunny was going to be here, because I was going to ask her what she thought about some of these things. So the RWBY Analysis blog had posted a number of the questions and answers that they put, which is nice, and they linked it all, too. And if you want to follow along, in the description of the stream, I do have a link to this list. Number one on the list... someone asked if Ozpin's incarnations had different names, and it was confirmed, yes, it was. I'm just going to click on the... I wish that opened in a new window. But, yeah, they said that Ozpin's incarnations have their own names, which is interesting, because so far Oscar hasn't changed his own name. And so far, with Ozpin and Oscar both starting with an O, I wonder if they're all names that start with O, because I imagine it's just going to be the same couple of names over and over again. that was just a very poor joke. But there was that, and then like they hinted that we're going to see some more background information on Mercury and Emerald, which I would really like to see, especially on Mercury, because Mercury, for the most part, we didn't really see much of the motivation or reasoning why he joined Cinder. It was just pretty much Cinder showing up being like, hey, where's your dad? And he's like, ask the corpse back in the burning shed. Ha ha ha. So, you know, it'd be nice to see exactly what the relationship between Mercury and his dad was. I'm assuming it was pretty abusive, considering his dad was an assassin, and then, well, he ends up killing his dad. So I imagine he got sick of it at some point. Or maybe his dad was training him to be better than him, and he killed the dad as like a graduation thing. Who knows? And it would also nice to see more of Emerald kind of coping with Cinder being gone, or if she's going to be in any stable state of mind, because she did a really freaky thing with that thing. But guys, let me know what you think about some of this. And then they said on Crow's semblance... This one makes a little bit of sense as of like what happened in the show, but also didn't make a whole lot of sense at the same time, if that makes sense. They said his semblance, it's not necessarily constantly running. It's more like more that it randomly spikes to cause unfortunate situations. If he chooses to amplify it in a fight, then yes, it does cost him. So I guess that was kind of in question of like, okay, does his semblance like have any cost to aura for him or anything like that? Let me see if I can find the question. Yeah, it's not really... When I click on the links, it doesn't really go straight to the question, but there was... I don't know. It makes sense and it doesn't make sense at the same time. Because it would make more sense if his aura... If his semblance was more constantly running, and depending on how much he's focusing on his aura, or if he had to like constantly think about like not having it activate, which in a fight he probably either focused on it less or was able to use it more to his advantage. That would make more sense to me. However, having it just kind of randomly go off and on doesn't make as much sense to me, especially when he kind of made it sound like it wasn't entirely in his control. Oh, hey, thanks. Yeah, I've missed doing this. I mean, we didn't do last week, which I really wanted to do this last week just because of the Q&A was like fresh news, and then also Blaz Blue announced a few things which were new as well. Hey, Rawl. Yeah, okay, it running, but in more of a fluctuation way. That makes more sense. To me, it would just make more sense. Like, I guess have it on a 3% chance level, and then sometimes it spikes up to like higher to like a 50% chance and stuff. Oh, and then like I guess some people were asking about Winter because they said Winter was never going to be in Volume 5. Some people asked like, hey, was Winter ever going to be in it? Was there like problems with the voice actress? But you know, for me it makes sense story-wise just because of Atlas. I don't know, a lot of these questions I feel like had like no duh answers, and there's one especially further down on this list that was really no duh for me. Okay, Smash says, just saw the list. There are a couple of answers that stood out. Yes, I will be getting to some of those. Okay, so here's like a totally no duh moment is them having to confirm that Crow is the Scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz symbolism. But let's see, there was one. Let's see. Oh, and then they did mention like feedback on like show don't tell again. I mean, I hope they get better on that because I remember them saying that with Volume 5 as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Mercury's backstory during Volume 6, since they hint pretty soon. Yeah, I imagine all this pretty soon stuff is like next volume pretty soon. I just hope they get it so pacing works and like the flow of the volume is nice and constant. Whereas with Volume 5, we had high highs and then low lows. I would like to have a little bit more middle pacing in this next volume. Okay, so they said clearly they don't have a problem with Winter's voice actor since this is there's this thing called RWBY Chibi Season 3. Exactly. Oh yeah, okay, so Crow's weapon name here. I'll scroll down to that one. Okay, Crow's weapon name is Harbinger. Anyway, someone posted the definition to that in my Discord, and I got it right here. It says a person or thing that announces the signals that approach another. Man, that is not a complete sentence. Thanks a lot, Google. But it's basically a sign of things to come, and usually it's like bad omen stuff. So it's kind of like named a little bit after of what his semblance does, and also kind of makes sense if it's since it's a scythe. We'd love to see it more in a scythe form. A lot of people were like, he's been using it more as a sword than he has been using it as a scythe, which which is kind of funny. I would love to see him and RWBY have slightly different scythe styles, just because, but they'd also probably have very similar styles. Of course, I could never see Crow pulling like the Ruby Rose pose with his scythe. Uh, Basically, just little things like that where they have like different poses and different style attacks at times. But he did teach her, so it would make sense they had some similarity, just not too much. Okay. Okay, it was originally a fan-made name, but Kerry decided to make it official. Yeah, if the links on this post were working, I would have been able to, like, look right at that. Okay, so there was, like, something interesting that they said. Oh, okay, here's one I really want to hit on, because it's been answered multiple times, and we've talked about this on the show before, but it's ridiculous that it still has to be mentioned, and that people are still trying to theorize how it's true and not true. But they had to reconfirm again and again and again that Crow is not RWBY's dad. Like, a lot of people, I could see why people would think that, but they're like, oh, she looks a little bit like, you know, a bit like Crow, and like they seem to have a bond. And it's like, yeah, but the Crow is the cool uncle, and I don't know about you guys, but whenever we had the cool uncle around, I would always be around the cool uncle more than my own parents. And I don't know. I think it's because you see your parents so often that they kind of become a little bit more boring to you. And the cool uncle or aunt that come in every now and then, they're the nice little spark of difference and excitement. And you're like, oh, this doesn't always happen type of thing. So, I mean, Yang is almost the same way with Crow, too. We see in Volume 3 that she and RWBY and Crow, they're all playing video games together, and they're all making jokes together, and he's telling them stories, and they're both eagerly listening. I don't think there's enough to, like, try to say he's, like, just RWBY's dad. You know, it's crazy that they have to keep saying, no, he's not. Because I remember as early as Volume 2, I believe Monty himself even said something. Like, I'm just gonna Google it. Monty Crow is not dad. That is what I'm typing to Google. But, let's see. Okay, so, I can't find it, but, okay, Monty Oom's Twitter, of course. Okay, he says, lol, nope. One of them is adopted. Wait, hold on. What's this Facebook post? Of course, Facebook would want me to log into Facebook first. But... oh, okay, so Monty made a joke once on Twitter. That's what it looked like, but... wow. Okay, so you just got the notification? I mean, I know YouTube's been having a interesting problem with the sub box and bell as of like the last week or two. It's weird, and it, like, I've noticed it with my video views too, and that's why I've been a little less active, is because I don't want to like upload something, and because YouTube has screwed up on the subscription and its notification system, that I just don't get any views, and it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna hold off on some of my videos to upload once the problem is fixed, because I want as many people as possible to see it. But let's see, where do we get it? Good theory, bad execution. Oh, okay, Crow. Okay, I'd compare Crow to Uncle Bumi from The Legend of Korra in terms of the cool uncle thing. Exactly. Although I've only seen the first 2 seasons of Korra, but that is further enough to see who Bumi is. I just think it's so sad. He's like the non-bender of all of his siblings, but I don't know, like, why the RWBY fandom is so stubborn on, like, trying to find ways that Crow could be the dad when it can't be. I don't know. This isn't the first time they had to say, because I remember in RTX 2016, someone asked at the RWBY panel, Miles and Kerry said no, and then I think it was asked again last year, whether it was at the panel I was at or at some other panel, and again they had to say no. And I just remember them having to say no so many times, and people are still like, oh, well, they're lying to keep it a secret. And I'm just like, no, that... I mean, sure, they'll hide some stuff from the audience, but that's because someone asked a spoiler question. But it literally makes no sense to have him be the dad. It, like, it wouldn't change too much in the show, I don't think. And a lot of people, I think a lot of this is fueled by, it looks like Ty and Crow had they dislike each other in Volume 3. But I think that had more to do with Crow teaching RWBY how to fight when Ty maybe didn't want RWBY to become a huntress because he already lost Raven and he lost Summer. And Summer being the one that's presumed dead, whereas Raven had ran off, he's probably, she probably reminds him a lot of Summer, and he doesn't want her to have the same fate as Summer, and he's just trying to keep her safe. So... okay, they are beating a dead horse, and this is the perfect thing for that metaphor. Exactly. Let this theory die, please, people. And hey, Stoic. And RWBY's family is already complicated enough as it is without Crow being RWBY's dad. Exactly. We don't need any more, it'll just be drama that's not needed in the show. And drama that would distract from the point that they're trying to save the world from Salem. And there's already so many complicated relationships just with Raven alone. It's like, guys, please. We don't need this. Okay, yeah, I can imagine them getting tired of answering the same questions over and over again, confirming Summer's dead again and again and again. You get the point. Verev says, when people get defensive about opinions, it makes them much more entrenched. They don't want to admit defeat because they feel like it's personal. Yeah, I've seen that a lot. And I have been on that side even, where someone proves me wrong, and it just makes me clutch even more to my own ways. But that's usually with if I'm trying to do something the hard way, and they're like, yo, there's a totally easier way, or you're doing that incorrectly. I'm like, no, let me. And it doesn't work. Oftentimes I just make things harder for myself for exactly no reason. But, yeah, I agree with that. Oh, and then the other answer that really stood out to me, which is funny that these are both back-to-back, is this was a lot of the criticisms with Volumes 1 and 2. Volume 3 I didn't see as much, but probably because in Volume 3 it was done better. And then I haven't seen it at all for Volume 4 and 5 on people thinking Jean is a self-insert character when it was Monty who made Jean. And so Kerry said, so both Miles and Kerry said to this, and their answers said, in the first few volumes, if Jean was in a scene, it was almost always because either Monty or myself, Kerry, wanted him in a scene. From the very beginning, Monty was very big on having the archetype of character be fairly prominent in the show. Miles has always been incredibly hesitant to enter Jean into scenes, to the point that he's voiced before that he wishes sometimes that he didn't voice him. So if people want to be mad at someone for Jean being in scenes, take it on Monty and I. And then he does the tongue sticking out emoji where it's which makes sense. And Jean, I think, gets a little bit too much hate, and I wish he was in Volume 5 just a little bit more. Volume 4, I think we had just the right amount of him, but other than him screaming at Cinder, I can't really think of too much of what he's done in the volume, even in entering in conversations, which I know he was in a number of conversations, but he wasn't memorable in those conversations. I wish he had more of a presence at times. And, well, okay, I said him screaming at Cinder, but I'm counting that as the same scene as him healing Weiss. Which a lot of people also complained about, his semblance being able to save Weiss, and they're like, it became too obvious at that point. And it's like, well, do you think he's going to discover healing if no one's injured? He's going to be hey, I could heal people. No one's injured, but I think I can do that. Okay, Stoic says, this only makes me want the virgin birth theory to be true. Oh my gosh, to just have like RWBY have no true father. Okay. Neo is a self-insert, not Sean. No one voices Neo, which is kind of funny. But okay, Vera says, I recall you saying before that Miles sometimes strokes his own ego with writing. Yeah, that was... I really have to take that back. Because up until I saw these answers, and I haven't read Miles' part yet, I like a lot of the fandom thought Miles was in charge of writing Jean, and that he was putting himself in the scenes and putting the spotlight on him. However, I'm only going to take that back so much because this is Miles' answer. Miles added to Kerry saying, yeah, more or less what Kerry said. I won't lie and say I didn't have fun getting to do lines in the booth. It's always a pleasure to get to do some more acting, especially if it's a character that gets to do more dramatic scenes. But yeah, the accusations that Jean was a self-insert really started to get to me over the years, to the point where I began actively avoiding writing scenes that had him in it. Now, if I was voicing someone like Torchwick or Watts or Felix, bro, effing rename the show. Teenagers get their butts kicked by awesome bad guys. Roman Torchwick, The Hour of Villainy, starring, written, and directed by Miles, loves playing villains, Luna. So, yeah, so I'm only reeling that back a little bit, because at the time that Jean was having most of his complaints of being a self-insert, before people knew this, Red vs. Blue seasons 12 and 13 were going on, which Felix was playing a huge part in both of those, being voiced and written by Miles. And kind of him saying like he loves to play villains, and you look at Felix in Red vs. Blue, you're like, okay, I really see that. And he's phenomenal as Felix. Like, I'm not going to complain. But with the combo of both of those, and then also him being the creator of Camp Camp and him playing David, it, to me, being an outsider who doesn't know everything, it's like, man, it sure looks like he loves writing himself into things. But this obviously disproves that. Like, he just, you know, doesn't try to force Sean into RWBY at all. So yeah, I admit and take that back. Hey, Inspector Who. Everyone's like, I need healing. Oh man, give us like a Overwatch version of RWBY and just have Jean being the Mercy. Okay, Stoic says, I really want them to reply with, yes, it has 3 settings. Shocker, Lady Dropper, and World Breaker 3000. Wait. Oh, wait. Okay. I think the issue with Jean is because sometimes he feels more like the main character than RWBY does. Yes, that was a lot of the criticisms, especially back in Volume 1 and 2, because Jean would get his own arcs that focused on him, and they were multiple episodes long. And so it's like, okay, we have Team RWBY, we have 4 girls that we're going to focus on. All of a sudden, it goes to like the one boy character. I know there's multiple boy characters, but it focused mainly on Jean alone. And he's like, oh, you know, Winchester is forcing me to do stuff. Or, oh, I need to tell Neptune, you need to treat Weiss better. Oh, what? Pyrrha likes me? Like, it's all... It was like, whenever the show went to Jean in Volumes 1 and 2, it revolved around Jean. And then Volume 3, when they did Jean's scenes, it was more of an emphasis focused on Pyrrha. And... rewatching that volume, it becomes more and more painful because you know why they're focusing on Pyrrha more. And yeah, the I'm Awesome by Felix. Like, but yeah, it was just, a lot of people would think, oh, Jean is taking control of RWBY, whereas the show is named after these 4 girls, and he's the one guy character that came in. So that's why a lot of people were screaming self-insert, because they knew Miles was part of the writing team and he voiced Miles. But it was mostly just Kerry and Monty. So I apologize to Miles, not Michael. But yeah, I mean, Jean I love. I mean, I cosplay as Jean. Jean's like my go-to cosplay character for RWBY. and I'm starting to remake his cosplay. I just got foam for his armor, so I wasn't really on the bashing or hating Jean train at any point, but I did low-key think Miles struck his own ego. Okay. Felix was an absolute jerk, and I love him. Exactly. Okay, Inspector Who says, I worry for Jean a little. While I'm okay with him being off to the side, he is still a character. Yeah, so... yeah, I agree. I'd like to see him just a little bit more in the spotlight, just not so the show is revolving around him. And I think kind of how they did it in the last little bit of Volume 5 was a good amount of Jean. It wasn't like everything's focused on him. It was like his moment. He's discovering what his semblance doing. He's important, but he's not like hogging the spotlight at any means, because it still went to all the other important things going on. And making the dumb jokes, David, the way I do. Yeah. Okay, hey, Jean Armor has Pyrrha armor infused with it. Even now, Pyrrha's all over him. Yeah, I know that. And, which has me wondering, I still have a few of the pieces of the Jean armor I made last summer, which I'm debating whether I try to reshape those or not, because I did use some pieces from, or not pieces, but I did use Erin's paint for her Pyrrha armor for the gold on his armor. And originally she was going to give me her first crown to like make into the shield, but instead she decided to give that to someone else, which was kind of a shocker when it was like, all right, let's get hammered at this thing. She's like, oh no, I'm gonna give it to someone else. And I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't make a shield, and I don't think I'm going to make a shield unless I have a very solid plan on how to get it to fold, because I want it to be portable. Okay. Quay says, Jean is my fave, but he's still a side character. A main side character, but still a side character nonetheless. Yeah, okay, so here's how I always thought of, like, the RWBY main characters. I thought RWBY was, like, toppest, the very top tier of main character, with shortly behind her being Weiss, Blake, and Yang, and then shortly underneath them was Jean, and now I would enter, like, Oscar to that main level too. Although Oscar with Volume 5 is almost becoming the next Jean in the complaints of he's starting to take over the show, but it's still to like a balanced point where I haven't seen people complain about it, but I could see it going in that direction if they weren't careful, but I doubt they would. Fair says, I think we will have to get used to is some characters dropping out of the spotlight of a couple of volumes at a time, just so they can make a better use of the time they have. Yeah, I agree with that, and you think with like more and longer episodes they would kind of fix that, where they don't have to do it too much. Like with Jean, for the most of the Volume 5 you couldn't really notice him, and then in the last few episodes he was in it a bit more and you could notice him. That was fine. However, Ren and Nora, like, the entire time were almost invisible. Like, they had their small little jokes here and there, but for the most part, you could have, like, erased them from those scenes and nothing would have happened. Which, you know, I don't know how I feel about. I hope we get a little bit more Ren and Nora, but... Okay, Raul says, don't know about anyone else, but I kind of want a Chibi and Camp crossover. I don't know how that would work, but that would be fun. I think they said something to the extent that there is going to be a crossover. I think it might have been for a first week milestone or something, or an extra life. Let's see. RWBY X Camp crossover plans. Because I remember there was something. Okay, nope. The fanfiction.net. Camp episode 8. Pinterest. I could have swore. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of when Achievement Hunter voiced, like, redubbed an episode of RWBY. That's what I'm thinking of. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do that as a milestone for Extra Life, or even first week at some point. I mean, they always tried to like do fun things where they break the rules. Like they had a drunk episode of Red versus Blue where they just got Bernie, Gus, Matt, Jeff, and Joel in a room, and they were all just drunk, and they were just trying to play their characters, and basically they just made an episode based off of that. That was a extra life goal, and then I already mentioned Achievement Hunter dubbing over RWBY, and then I heard there was something about like the voice actresses for Team RWBY doing something with Achievement Hunter or something, or they did something. I don't know. I can't remember everything. Okay, so Stoic says, so many changes and ideas, like it was originally supposed to be RWBY X Sun looking at Volume 2 opening. I still believe RWBY were going to be gifted power akin to the maidens, so who knows. Yeah, no, for a very long time after Volume 3, I thought each of the members of Team RWBY would become a maiden, and once I let Arnold know that, like, that's what I was thinking, he immediately shot that down. He's like, no, that's too OP. That's too OP. Which, I wonder, like, to me, it's like, okay, what's the difference between Team RWBY being the maidens and then, like, having other people be the maidens in the show? Because we're still going to have OP characters at some point. Like, we have Raven. Raven is an OP character, but she fought against Cinder, who is also, well, I guess I'm comparing maidens to maidens. But I imagine once we get closer and closer to the end of RWBY, we're going to see more and more OP villains, and therefore the maidens are not going to be as super OP. I think we're just going to get to the point where we have super outlandish battles, and it's mainly because it's maidens versus like the evil equivalent to maidens, whether it's like Salem taking all of them on at the same time or whatever. We'll see. Okay, Vera says, we've gotten small Camp and Red vs. Blue bits in Chibi V4. Have we? Oh, like references? Or like Easter eggs? I haven't seen too much of Chibi. Like most of the episodes of Chibi I've watched once and then never saw them again, so I don't really remember any of the episodes. Hence why I didn't make it too far in the Vital Knowledge tournament. Okay, Stoic says, I still believe Osmond was going to die after gifting the ladies his powers, and then Oscar pops up. Yeah, Oscar was quite the change in it. And then Quay says, it's hard not to make Oscar important when he got one of the most important characters inside of him. Yeah, it's weird. Like, you have this whole two characters in one body thing going on, and I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. Okay, personally, I just want Chibi Ozpin to meet the Quartermaster and RWBY to meet Max, Neil, and Nikki. That would be really funny. Although, I could imagine Max just, like, taking the weapons and doing something to destroy the camp. Well, this isn't the first time Oz has been inside a body of a teenage boy. Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I believe we're going to start learning something, probably not in Volume 6, but maybe Volume 7, we'll start to see some change in Oscar and Ozpin, because Ozpin doesn't necessarily have anyone else's voice with him, and it's him that transferred into Oscar, so I'm wondering if they're going to slowly fuse into this just one being. Probably going to just still be Oscar's voice, and then, you know, it will just continue on like that. I think Oscar is slowly going to become more Ozpin-ish, or Ozpin becomes more like Oscar, and kind of like with Doctor Who, you have like all the different iterations of the Doctor, and they all are the same person, but they're all different. I think it's going to be like that. We're going to slowly get to the point where it's like a slow transition where it's like, okay, we went from Ozpin to Oscar and Ozpin, and slowly it's going to be just Oscar, if that makes sense. Okay, RWBY is still getting relics, and it depends on your definition of OP. Exactly. Like, I think the relics will probably be the thing that balances out the OP-ness, because I think villains are going to get the next artifact, and it's going to be like them using that against the team. And if we have a maiden fighting against that, I'm going to imagine they're on the same level. So it'll be like, oh yeah, they're overpowered, but because they're going against each other, it doesn't matter. So then they're not OP. OP would kind of be like how Cinder was in the first 3 volumes, how she just kicked everyone's butt and just like it didn't really matter. So I think OP really has to go in like reference of who you're against. You can't just have one character by themselves and be like, that's OP, because technically Goku's OP, but because of who he's always fighting in Dragon Ball, it's not really OP because he still has his butt kicked often enough. Does that make sense? Okay, Inspector Who says, but honestly, I would like to see Chibi to be their own and not... Oh, RWBY. Did I say Chibi? But honestly, I would like to see RWBY to be their own and not maidens. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, once I talked to Arnold about like Team RWBY being maidens, I saw more of like what his point was and was like, you know, the show might be more interesting with them not, because them becoming maidens would almost be like a huge predictability thing, and then it's just kind of like, I don't know. I wish we could just see the show like how it would be with both outcomes, you know, and then we just pick whichever one we like a multiple endings RWBY. Thank you for saying that out loud. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. So Steve says, if you want the definition of OP main character, go watch Overlord. But yes, it's hard to describe something as OP. And you want to see Ozpin give Oscar dating advice. I can imagine that being a RWBY Chibi thing. Like, Oscar... like, Oscar's becoming that point of age where he's starting to be interested in girls, and Ozpin is just trying to walk him through a date or something. He's like, Ozpin, what do I do? He's like, well, open the door for her, of course. I don't know. You want Dr. Watts to pull a Tony and create an Ultron-like being? You know, that'd be interesting. I really want to see if he's connected to not RWBY, Penny's creator at all. And someone commented on my video saying I'm an idiot for saying I want to see Penny's creator, because they're like, Ironwood is. It's like, no, Ironwood was like in charge of the project, but I don't think he was the one that came up with how to make an artificial aura or transfer an aura into a robotic body and create this secret super soldier. I think it'll be a mix between the creator of Penny and Watts working together, and they're trying to make a new and improved Penny, and then that becomes like the Ultron. And if you think about it, the Ultron thing already happened in Volume 3 with the virus that Watts made, and they just hijacked all the robotic soldiers that Atlas was using to help protect Vale. Let's see. Okay, Raul says, Ozpin's advice to Oscar: don't be Crow. That is a good start. It's like that Tony Stark line to Peter Parker in the Spider-Man movie. He's like, don't do anything I would do, but don't do anything I wouldn't do. There's a nice fine line there. Like, it's kind of like that. Yeah, he had some help from Mr. Ironwood. Penny, thank you, Veriv. Yeah, Ironwood was secondary, which I explained that to them, and I think their response to that was, I like your theory. Let me see. I'm going to go back to my... I'm just going to go to YouTube Studio, because I need to read exactly what their response was to my response, because it was something like, still like, I like what you said, but I'm still going to dismiss it type thing. And it was like, really, dude? Really? Okay, comments. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, their first comment: Ironwood is Penny's creator, you dumb A. And then I said, I believe Ironwood was involved, but he wasn't like the thing. And they're like, I guess the rest of your theory is really good though. So you see what it was? It was like, it's alright, but I don't want to admit it. Yeah, it was just really dumb. And it was like, it's like you went from insulting me to like somewhat agreeing to me. Like, that's something right there. Yeah, and I mentioned the glimpse. I said I think the guy watching the Penny die in the Vital tournament was Penny's creator, and that's what the majority of everyone is. Like, in fact, that commenter was probably the first person I've seen to think otherwise. And they're like, oh, I guess that makes sense. It's like he looked like the total typical good guy scientist, or any scientist from like 80s video games up through the 90s, or even like early 2000s, if you're like, if I had to pick out the scientist character out of a crowd, it was going to be white beard, lab coat, and probably bald, and maybe wearing some type of sunglasses. And that looked like the guy in the thing, minus the glasses. It was like white beard and lab coat. It was like, you don't think that guy had anything to do about Penny, even though he looked like he was a pretty irked that she was destroyed, like, So anyway, it was just, yeah, we see a glimpse. I know, right? Like, we see a glimpse of him in Volume 3, Chapter 9, but sure, just think that was some random character, random commenter. Okay. B-Master says, I can't wait for Chibi Oscar. His eyes are already so kawaii. Once he gets chibi-fied, I'm gonna die of cuteness overload. Yeah, we'll see. He does have like the most complex eyes in the series, which is interesting. Yeah, there's a theory that they used the same machine that they used to try and transfer Amber's soul into Pura's body to create Penny. Yeah, I totally agree with that. In fact, I think Penny might have even been like the... I don't know how I want to word this. Either Penny's creation and like the success of creating her was like the proto test of seeing if the thing with Amber and Pura would work, or they created Penny using this process and they said, hey, we believe we'll be able to do it from person to person, not just person to robot as well. Okay, so Vera said, I thought the same thing about Neo and Penny. I was not disappointed. Yeah, they were pretty cute characters. I need to see more Penny and Chibi, honestly. Okay, Quay says, Watts probably helped the scientist from Volume 3, Chapter 9 create Penny and was fired when Watts tried to do something on her, probably turning her into a killing machine. I could see that working out. And, I mean, he obviously knows how to create robotics of some sort if he's going to help build Tyrion a new tail. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a helping hand or was the hand that made Yang's arm. And honestly, that would be pretty interesting to see if Yang came across Watts and he was just able to hijack her arm and use her arm against her. Although it's pretty easy to detach, but I wonder if he could even stop it from detaching. So, real talk, who would win, Neo or Penny? Oof. I'm going to have to go with Penny with that. I think Penny might beat Neo. I mean, Penny's just like an OP killing machine robot with all these blades. Neo, who can disguise herself and is very good at fighting, but so is Penny. And I think Penny might have a better reaction time, and because she has robot eyes, she might be able to see through any disguise or mirage that Neo puts in front of her. I think Penny has the upper hand, especially when she can shoot lasers. Neo would win because Penny is already dead. Okay. Alright, we had to go there. Okay. Just remind us she's just scrap metal somewhere. She's probably a Coca-Cola can at this point. They recycle. Too soon. Yeah, no. She's just a Coca-Cola can or something. Oh, and then, so, crap. I want to go back to the things. Okay, my homie wants a Final Fantasy ending to the series. Now I kind of want it too. I haven't really played any of the Final Fantasy games, so I'm gonna have to look that one up later. So, okay, if Penny does come back, it won't be the same Penny from volumes 1 through 3. Could be a good breaking point for RWBY. Yeah, what show was it? Oh, no, it wasn't a show. It was this manga right here. So for those who don't know, I've been reading Neon Genesis Evangelion, and there's a character who basically has exactly what you were pointing out, Huntesty, is there was a character that died, and then they kind of came back, but they were not the same person that we've seen throughout the rest of the series. They had no memory of the main character and all of this. It was like complete wipeout of memory and personality. So if we see another Penny, I could totally imagine her being more monotone, not knowing who RWBY is, and RWBY, I mean, it'll kind of be like a Terminator situation, I imagine, with John Connor. He kind of hacks the little brain to the Terminator and starts teaching him personality stuff, and the Terminator slowly becomes more and more human till the end of the movie. uh it could be kind of like that with Penny. I mean, with RWBY trying to work really hard with Penny to get Penny to be the Penny that she knew. And it could be a very interesting dynamic whether she succeeds or fails in that, or Penny, the next Penny, does become a little bit more human, but she's not like how Penny was before, and RWBY just having to deal with that and move on. That'll be interesting. Oh, speaking of backstory on Salem Beemaster, that was one of the things Kerry said. Someone said they want to know the backstory to Salem. Yeah, okay, so it says Kerry is most excited. So the thing that Kerry is most excited about is to explore Salem's backstory. And let's see if the link works. Okay. So yeah, I really hate how this doesn't go around. How like the links don't necessarily work as well as we want, but yeah, Salem is the thing he's looking forward to the most. I wish I knew Reddit better, but okay. Rawl said, "How sad is it that we've gotten to the point where people want RWBY to have an emotional breakdown because she desperately needs character development?" Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of weird. Like people, she's been like so the same since Volume 1. And Volume 5 did a great point of showing that, hey, there is a person in there. She's not just kawaii and I need to be a hero. She has emotions behind that. And she does feel, like, what is it? Grief. She does feel grief and stuff like that. And yeah, it was honestly getting to the point where if they didn't start working on RWBY, they're going to start losing people, I think. That's just kind of what I think made the big push for Ruby Rose to get character development, was people saying, hey, this is the main character, she needs to be written like one. If she isn't, then this show's just going to get less and less interesting as it goes on, which is true. Like, how are we supposed to believe that this person that was a naive child back in episode 1 is still a naive child when there's all of this chaos going on in the world and possibly another great war happening, and she's trying to save the world, but she hasn't grown from the experiences she's had. A lot of people would have problems with that. Like, if you look at Naruto, for example, Naruto, very first chapter, he's a delinquent kid, he's doing graffiti, he's doing pranks in school, he doesn't have friends, he doesn't know how to socialize, but by the end of the series, he's grown into a really great leader. He could actually do stuff, whereas at the beginning of the series, he couldn't really fight well, and he didn't know how to socialize, and now he has a leader. He is the leader, and people have their trust in him, and he's more of like, no, we got to do this for the good. And then, I mean, if you're going to count Boruto as well, he's now like the Hokage, who's like all about like, hey, we have rules for a reason. Boruto, stop breaking them, we need characters with character development, or else it'll create problems with the show and its writing. A confession, I really think Cinder is a bland character, as in her personality is really bland. I like her personality. I would say the personality is what keeps her interesting, other than like not knowing much for her character. I think her motivation is bland, on like she's wanting to grow more stronger and more powerful, and it's like, okay, where did that drive come from? It's hard to give a character good motivation without having something to inspire that motivation. Does that make sense? Like, I really want to use the villain from Black Panther as an example, but I'm not, for spoilers' sake, because he was a great example of like how to have a villain with good motivation and good reason for the motivation even. But I'll just leave it at that. And SD says, yeah, sucks. RWBY desperately needs something. She is the main character right now, and even that's debatable. Yeah, the fact that a lot of people are starting to question whether she's not the main character kind of comes from the lack of giving her depth. like a lot of people were like, oh well, it almost makes more sense that any of the other members of Team RWBY are more the main characters, or Jean has had more character development than RWBY, and or Oscar, like she's almost becoming more of a side character when throughout the first 3 volumes she had the most lines. Like, hold on, let me see if I can find the post. Okay, Ruby Rose lines per volume. Let's see. Not quotes, not quotes. Do I need to add Tumblr to this? Yeah, no. Tumblr. So after each volume, there was someone that would. Oh, I found the infograph at least. Okay, visit. Okay, so there's this blog called. Is it really just called Mostly Reblogs? Oh, Mostly Milkwood.tumblr. So back in volume 1, it was Ruby Rose. Ruby Rose had 21.7% of the lines, with number 2 being Weiss at 14.6, then Jean shortly behind her, and then it just got smaller and smaller and smaller. Then in volume 2, RWBY was still at the top with 16.4% of the lines. Then volume 3, it became 12.2, with Crow with 9%, which a lot of people started saying, like, once Crow came into the show, because he has such a great voice actor that he kind of hijacks the scenes he's in and kind of takes importance. And then volume 4, RWBY is almost tied with Blake at 9.5, and then Blake at 9.4. So that's it through volumes 1 through 4. And then there's like another graph. It's a line graph showing like the lines. And so far, if you look at all the lines every character has combined compared to each other, RWBY has like close to 650 lines, whereas second place is Weiss at like 400 lines. So RWBY still has like quite the lead as far as lines go, but it's getting less and less noticeable because she dropped to under 10% volume 4, and I'd love to see when they come out with the analysis for volume 5. Oh crap, I minimized the chat. Okay, all right, see ya, B Master, have fun. Let's see. Okay, so there's a comment on Cinder. Okay, so Varif says Cinder was pretty one-dimensional for volumes 1 through 3, but what has happened since makes her more interesting. I see what we don't know as a promise for more in the future. Yeah, that's kind of what I saw. And like her having the added motivation of getting stronger and getting revenge on RWBY for besting her, I found that a little bit more interesting, because we actually know the reason that's driving it. It's like, oh, RWBY costed her an arm and an eye. Like, that makes sense. Whereas with volumes 1 through 3, it doesn't make as much sense, because we're like, okay, what caused her to want all of this? And we don't know that. Yeah. What? You don't like Cinder's voice? I really think Jessica Negri does like one of the best voice acting jobs for Cinder, especially that scene where it's her, Cinder. I mean, it's Cinder, Raven, and the fake Spring Maiden. Oh crap, I forgot her name. It's like Versailles, and they're all in the elevator, and she's like talking to Versailles, and she's like, oh, don't you just love being the Spring Maiden? And like saying all this stuff. Like, I love the voice delivery that Cinder gets. Like, it's amazing. I love it. Okay. Raul says, if we want to talk about blind characters with personalities, Roman and Neo. Yeah, Vernal. Okay. Oh, gosh dang it. I was so close. I basically replaced the N with an S in my head. Who are you again? Best line in the entire volume from Cinder. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Especially when it's like something to be so salty towards John. Yeah, Roman and Neo, they were pretty bland, but they were also not supposed to last as long as they did. Heck, Neo wasn't even a character until like the week of the episode that she debuted came out. They had to like Monty was like, hey, I have an idea for how Roman gets out of this situation. We introduced this new villain lady, and she's going to be the henchman to Roman. So we're going to put her in the very background of the episode before, like the day before the episode debuts, and then we're going to show her in the next episode. Monty did a lot of last-minute add-ins, with her being the most notorious one. So, Stoic says RWBY will go full-on General Kimball, and her sisters will have to bring her back. Bring back hope to the rebellion. General Kimball. Hold on, I'm gonna have to look that up, because it sounds so familiar. I want to say Fullmetal Alchemist, but let's see. Is it? No, wait. I'm getting an actual person with that. Yeah, I spelled it the same way too. Did you mean an actual person? Did he? Yeah, he was a Civil War general for the Union. Yeah. Stoic, are you drunk? Yeah, seriously, like, did she? I mean, oh, Lindsay character in Red versus. Okay, yeah, yeah. That's what I was remembering it from. Dude, I have to say the last few seasons in Red versus Blue have like gone over my head. Like season 15, if you ask me to recite the plot, I can't, other than saying, well, there's a lot of movie references. Movie references are the only things I can remember. The Chorus trilogy, seasons 11, I can't really remember. Season 12, all I remember were they were split up from the end of season 11, and then when they were reuniting, Felix revealed he was a villain, and then season 13 was like, we must fight Felix and the other guy, the Xbox. We must fight Xbox and Felix. Crap, what's his name? He turned good, for crying out loud. Felix and... Yeah, like I said, Red versus Blue has been going over my head a lot lately. But yeah, that makes sense. Kimball... yeah, Locust. Yeah. Man, I don't know why. Locust reminds me of Mucus. And I always forget his name. Speaking of characters' names who I get wrong, people asked about Vernal's name, and they answered saying Vernal never had a surname, but she did have another name, but when she decided to become the face of the Spring Maiden for Raven, she adopted the name Vernal. So Vernal is not her original name, and they didn't say what her original name would be, and I kind of doubt we'll learn it. But oh, and then someone asked, like, is Raven going to be in RWBY Chibi? And this is after they had the RWBY Chibi promotional art, and it looked like they had a Raven in the promotional art, and a lot of people were like, hey, looks like Raven's going to be in it. And people are like, then someone's like, they're going to have a Q&A. I'm going to ask something that we're probably going to get the answer very soon if we don't already have the answer. And it's like, they have to say, I have to wait and see, which is pretty much saying, oh, RWBY Chibi Season 3, you're going to get your answer. But, yeah. Oh, and then they mentioned, a new side, which I think they mean, like, a new, like, sideshow. At a sideshow, and they said, like, that could include character turnarounds and more information on birthdays and weapon names, which I would love. I would love to see their birthdays. Like, honestly, their birthdays was like a missed opportunity for that calendar. Because whenever I bought like a Naruto calendar or a calendar from a show, whenever you looked at the calendar, it would show a character's birthday. So why they didn't do that for the RWBY calendar totally beats me, but oh well. AKA Space Torchwick. yeah, Locust is Space Torchwick pretty much. Although I'm more worried about Locust than Torchwick. Okay, Vera said her name was the reason why I didn't believe that Raven is the Spring Maiden theory before it was revealed. Huh. Okay, is it really important what Vernal's real name is? She's already dead. Yeah, exactly. Like, her real name doesn't really matter. It's not gonna build to the plot. Although her real name, I guess, could be revealed in the new sideshows that has like more character informations that they mentioned. That it would make sense to reveal it in that, but not in the main show. Okay, just watch Raven coming in tomorrow's episode. I am still catching up on RWBY Chibi. In fact, after this, I need to edit my RWBY Chibi Season 2 last few episode reactions, and then I need to record the next few. Which, by the way, is a perk on Patreon. If you want to do a group RWBY Chibi reaction with me, it's just $2 a month on my Patreon. But, anyway. Verv said that was a typo. Site, not side. Meaning, on the updated Rooster Teeth site, we'll have space for, on the Rooster Teeth site. Man, I was hoping they would do, like, a new show, like, kind of similar to World of Remnant, but just have it run as its own independent thing for info. Let's see. Does he say site? We'll get more info on that. Hang tight. Let's see. Oh yeah, he says when the new site launches, we're working on. Okay. So, oh, they're gonna do it on the show page. Okay, that makes more sense. Although it would also be nice if we got like little booklets we could buy it from, like concept art books or something. Which, at the Ladies of Animation panel for RTX, they said, if you guys ever want something like a concept art book or anything, you really gotta let Rooster Teeth know there's a demand for it. And I think information like they're gonna release on the new show page is something I would say is a must for a book. So I think we should all work together and be like, hey, Rooster Teeth, give us stuff that we could just throw money at you, you know? It's like, you like money, like, right? Okay, so Stoic says, I want an extreme aggressive Yang and Tai around whenever she appears. Oh, whenever he appears, you mean? I would like to see that, but I think that's gonna have to come after Raven and Tai talk. And or maybe before Raven and Tai talk, I don't know. Maybe she just jumps the gun and starts yelling at him and he tries to explain things better. Let's see. Let's see. Quay says, quick question. Have you ever watched the Daredevil Netflix series? Yes. It is one of my favorite Netflix series, and I'm really waiting for a season 3 trailer for it. I'm excited for Jessica Jones that comes out next month. But yeah. I'm a huge Marvel fan. Like, I watch pretty much anything Marvel other than their Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I think Inhumans already got canceled. And then their Hulu show, because I don't have Hulu, so I don't watch their Hulu show. Okay, Stoic says, gotta go. Need to change a Band-Aid. Oh, dude, get on that, man. Alright. Okay, I would buy a concept book in a heartbeat. Exactly. And thank you. We will have a fun stream. This is already 4 minutes longer than planned, but we're having a good time because of it. Yeah, so the concept book part... the concept art book I would really like to see, but I'd really like to see just books that give information. Like, I think the World of Remnants could easily be translated into a book if they want to spend less time making World of Remnant episodes and make them books instead, or like chapters in a book or paragraphs in a book. You know, I just want to see like more content, and it doesn't have to be info that's needed for a show. Like, I would hate it to end up be like Destiny. So like Destiny had a problem where there's a lot of information that would have been great to have in game, but they put it on a website and you earn the information through the game, but to read it you have to go onto a website, which a lot of people didn't like. I didn't like it because I never read it, and it's like I'm always hearing about this information. I'm like, where'd you learn that? Oh, of course, the website. So like if they should not leave information out of the show just to put it into the book. I think they should take information that's already in the show, put it into the book, and then like any smaller information like weapon name and inspirations, you know, stuff like that, or like Vernal's original name, you know, just give information that's not important to the plot and put it in the book, and then anything that is important to the plot that's already said in the show, put that into the book as well. You know, give us concept art, give us all the goodies. I would love to see like town maps, I guess, or maybe even like a little tour guide booklet inside the book where you could like see all the attractions to the towns, like Mistral. Like we didn't get to see much of Mistral. The book or even this site that they're mentioning will be a great way to learn more about Mistral. Just like get a little book and you can read about it and you're like, oh cool, this is like where people go to gamble, or this is where people go to do this. Oh, there's more information on their market. Stuff like that. Oh, Blaz Blue. Okay, Blaz Blue. They did announce something about Team RWBY, and I put that in the thumbnail. Forbid I forget to mention it during a 1-hour stream. So they announced that Blake and Yang are going to be free DLC. So you pretty much buy the game and you can immediately just download Yang and Blake, which is awesome. We'll have the entire Team RWBY. You might wait until all the DLC for the game is out. Yeah, but Yang and Blake are free from what I read and stuff. Like, hold on, I'm gonna look up Yang and Blake Blaz Blue, because I believe it was correct. Yeah, it's free DLC. Okay, just making sure I get my information correct. But yeah, a lot of people were angry that they were not gonna be in the base game, so the company was just like, all right, you'll get them. They're free. You don't have to pay money for them. All right. And also Hunt SD, they got like a season pass version of the game. Like I think the base game is $50, but if you buy the $70 version, then you'll get the DLC as it comes out. Like that's always an option. How many types of dust have we discovered so far? Let's see. There's fire, ice, gravity, electricity, earth. I think there's a wind. There's a wind type. Poison. Yeah, 70. Well, okay. If you think about it, most games are $60. It's just an extra $10. And also, well, okay, not an extra $10 because the base game is 50 and then like season pass. But I only want like Yang and Blake added on. Team RWBY are really the only characters in this game that I know and is what is drawing me to the game. So for me, I'm just gonna buy the base game. That's all what I'm gonna do. And from what I've heard and studied of fighting games in the last couple of weeks, this isn't too bad of a deal for fighting games. Like Super Smash Brothers, let me tell you about the DLC mess that was. If you bought a character like, I don't know, Mewtwo, the day he came out, if there was later a character bundle that would have saved you money and Mewtwo is in that bundle, instead of letting you spend money on that bundle, it says you can't buy it because you already own Mewtwo, which then means you have to go hunting through their stupid list of DLC for Super Smash Brothers to buy individual characters like Roy and all of that, instead of just saving yourself like $2 and buying a package that already has a character you have. And it was terrible. So honestly, just paying an extra $20 just so I don't have to like mess with stuff like that, or just waiting or just buying the characters as they come out, I do not mind. But Team RWBY are the only characters I care about in the game. I probably play as other characters just to see if I like playing as them, but they're the only characters I know. Alright, see ya, Quay. Thank you for watching. But yeah, Blaz Blue, I actually plan on getting it for the Nintendo Switch. I got it right here. And I actually have a plan in the works that you guys could join in too once the game comes out in June. I plan on doing a Blaz Blue tournament racket. I want to get everyone that I could, and it has to be Blaz Blue on the Switch because it's going to be too messy having it on multiple consoles for people, and I I'd have to be able to record it, which means, hey, if I have it on Switch, you gotta have it on Switch too. But I want to get a bunch of RWBY reactors and people in the RWBY community that own Blaz Blue and do a tournament. Whether it's going to be tag team or just one-on-one fights, I don't know. But we'll do the matches where everyone's talking through Discord, and so I could record the Discord chat and I record the gameplay through spectator mode, and we'll just do the rackets until there's a winner. And I still need to figure out prizes, how I'm going to give out the prizes. They might just be like Rooster Teeth store gift card codes, because, you know, giving a code is a lot easier than just, you know, just sending someone something. That's a little hard for me. So that's just an idea I have. I'm still working on it. If you guys have any ideas that would help grow it or make it better and more polished, please let me know. You could let me know on Discord or on Twitter, any of that. But as for today's VYTALcast, that was pretty much it. The next one, I plan on having a guest. I'm going to try contacting them this weekend, and I need to contact someone else about someone they were trying to help get me a hold of. And Sunny should be back for that too. So thank you for watching so much, and I will boop you next time.